And top of the morning to you, Jim Holley here with you on this Saturday morning, 16 days in the month of June. The year is still the same, 2018. We do say good morning to you, and we thank God for each and every one of you. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it.
Oh, little prayer for you, and I will always care for you. Hello, Detroit.
The book of Matthew says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit."
Today, we're offering you a holy trinity of items with your generous donation of $39 or more. The spiritually enlightening book, A Prayer Covering Over Your Family, for teaching how to raise up a spiritual shield through prayer and protect loved ones with God's grace. A prayer cloth of holy scriptures for surrounding your loved ones with the Lord's powerful words. Plus, an exquisite bottle of holy anointing oil for rebuking evil and sickness among you. Dial 313-872-LOVE. That's 313-872-LOVE, or visit historiclittlerockbc.org now for this limited time offer with your gift or donation of $39 or more.
Throughout the Word of God, we see its importance to anoint, experience healing, deliverance, and fellowship with our Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit with your generous gift of support.
There is not another culinary or hospitality academy located in the city of Detroit.
There's a lot of people teaching culinary arts, but they're not teaching the business side of it.
We're opening up another kitchen for the Cleary Culinary Academy. We're going to bring a Cleary mind to every kitchen in downtown Detroit.
But when we talk about a Cleary mind, we're talking about a student that can make a definite impact.
We want to be a part of all the wonderful food establishments, restaurants, and the food scene in general in downtown Detroit.
You've seen him on the red carpet, you've seen him on the sidelines, you've seen him on the stage. The hottest looks in urban fashion from the biggest name in urban fashion, Van Dyke's. Now pick out 3, pay for 1. 3 suits for 1. Van Dyke's, 10 Mile and Southfield Road. You've seen him at the clubs, you've seen him in the boardroom, you've seen him on the pulpit. Now get them at Van Dyke's. 3 suits for 1. Suits for the workplace, for the club scene, to be seen in. Pick out 3, pay for 1. Van Dyke's, 10 Mile and Southfield Road.
I've always been interested in driving. When I was in the service, I drove a stick shift truck. After being retired, I got tired of sitting around. It's time for me to get back maneuvering something on the road. I'm back in school again, and I seen the sign out there, said truck CDL. I'm in school trying to get me an associate degree. One reason I quit school years ago, I'm slow learning. But once I learn things, I can pick it up. But I can pick more so up on hands-on. The technology is different for me. It's a difference between driving a straight-back truck or a stick-shift car. And the semi-truck amazes me. This is a program that advances knowledge. I'm determined to get an education. Get you a skill and a trade. Live life. Enjoy it.
Oh, little prayer for you, and I will always care for you. Hello, Detroit.
Once again, thank you so much for being with us on this Saturday morning. And again, we're live in living color, and certainly we welcome you this morning. And for those of you just listening or watching the program for the first time, it is a live program, and you're certainly welcome to call in. It's a talk show, and we basically try to deal with current events, and you're certainly welcome to basically chime in and participate. If we're perhaps not talking about anything that you maybe are interested in, think something that you want us to talk about, you're welcome to call in. It's really your program. It's really your show. I'm just here to kind of facilitate it. And we just want to say thank you so much for being with us. I think last Saturday we were, I was in training, a training of a new position that I have here in the city of Detroit. And so I apologize for not being in place on last Saturday, but had to run a rerun. But we're here live in color this morning. And just want to let you know that I'm very grateful to be with you as always here. And I do miss this, and I hope that indeed that you appreciate the fact of what we are trying to do in terms of giving you information, because we know information is powerful. And so once again, we thank you so much for being with us. You know, people don't have to be nice, and when they are, at least you can do is say thank you. And certainly from all of us here at WHBR, we just want you to know how grateful that we are for all that you've done and all you're doing in order to help us to stay on the air and certainly bring various programs to you throughout the day. And so once we just thank you so much. If you need to know the number, it's right there on your television screen. You're certain to give us a call. You're welcome to do that. For those who listen by way of internet or viewing by way of internet, just want you to know the area code is 313-868-0342, 868-0351, and 868-4336. Those are the numbers, and you're certainly welcome to give us a call on this Saturday morning. We're talking about really an overcast for the half of the day anyway. We're talking about rain and even maybe a thunderstorm up until noon, around 1 or 2 o'clock on this afternoon, and then the sun should come out this afternoon. And then tomorrow we're looking at about 96 degrees on tomorrow. It might get up to 100. No rain in the forecast for tomorrow. The high today will be about 90 degrees. Right now we're looking at 71 in downtown Detroit. And on Monday we're talking about 93, in the mid-90s for Monday as well. And so we'll just take it one day at a time and just let you know that indeed just want to make sure that your temperature and your weather is all good wherever you may be on this Saturday morning. We think we want to got some information that we want to bring to you, and certainly some other things that we want to have you to note and perhaps let you know what we've been doing for the last 2 or 3 days since the last time that we've been here, and give you an idea of what was going on and what we were doing, and basically see if it's some interest that you may have as well. Well, we have there's an interesting article about 2.5, maybe 3 pages, 2.5 pages of an article that basically that comes out of the free press and talk about the little diversity for demolition efforts here in the city of Detroit. It's a powerful piece with all these federal dollars coming in for demolition, and then of course it comes down to where just a few African Americans are getting the money, getting the job to do the demolition. And it's a very powerful piece, and there's some things that I want to let you know, and that I have went over it a couple of times and wanted to make sure that I would sort of highlight some interesting points and that you might be of interest. And I know many of you are in this, in something of this nature, in terms of about $148 million in federal dollars that has come in to the city, and only about 26% of it being spent with minorities. And so we may want to talk about this. And it is very important, my sisters and brothers, we understand that especially with federal dollars, that indeed that minority businesses would get a piece of that, and get most of it as far as I'm concerned. And certainly we need to talk about something like that, and it's an interesting piece in the Free Press on yesterday. If you're interested in it, it was on yesterday, and again, front page, a piece of it, but on page 10 and 11 of the Free Press, it really delineates what's really going on, and really how a lot of the companies, construction companies, feel like they've been neglected and can't get into the process. and we wanted to sort of get that to you and probably go over that with you, and just so that you have the information. I think it's very important that when we come here on Saturday mornings that we not only have discussions about various events, current events, but also to give you information, and also you share that information with others as you're on the air. So we think that's very much needed, and certainly hope that you would also know that we're looking for you to participate in those kind of discussions as well. Then there's something else that's going on. We're going to make sure that you're aware of it, and it is the Detroit Urban Summit. We're going to get into that a little later on in the program, something that's sponsored by the Wayne County Community College District, and some wonderful speakers and national speakers that's coming in to basically discuss the urban affairs, and not only for what's going on in Detroit, but really urban America, what's really happening. Because all of us, for the most part, in terms of our whether we are one state or another, the problems are basically the same. And we somehow got to be able to not only discuss it, but also try to put a plan and a strategy together. And of course, again, that's where under leadership of Chancellor Curtis Ivory is bringing to the city of Detroit, and it's going to be at MGM, and we'll give all that to you and give you some idea of what will be taking place in regards to that, and what really the focus will be as far as the discussions are. But I just want you to know that since the last time that we had come together, that we had a program on at the historic Little Rock Baptist Church, basically for the North End. It wasn't for the church. It was just at Little Rock, but it was North End, and DTE was sponsoring a program called Bright Ideas, and had about 200, a little over 200 people that were there from not on the North End, but really from other parts of the city as well. But it was like a think tank, a shark tank concept, but it's called Bright Ideas. And about 7 different companies came before judges, and they were basically made a pitch for financing, financing their program, financing their business. And of course, the first place person got $5,000. $5,000 is the first, second, and third place winners. But the first place winner got $5,000, and we were able to give that to them. Not we, but GTE were able to give it to them on that night. Can you imagine that? It made, and when you listen to the various businesses and the various ideas and the things that young people really have and what they want to do and try to do and just need capital, and of course this is something that was being experimented at the North End, and certainly I'm sure the DTE would take it to other neighborhoods. And it's a way of just sort of igniting businesses in the neighborhood. Yes, I know it's it doesn't nothing like what's going on in downtown, Court Town, and all like that. But my sisters and brothers, it's something. It's something. It's better than nothing. Certainly I'd like to have been able to see that she got the winner would have gotten about $50,000 rather than $5,000. But the point is, she was very happy and very delighted just for that. So I just want you to know again what's going on from the last time that we've been together, and that we are really doing everything we can to try to make sure that we make a difference in the neighborhood, and certainly in the city of Detroit as well. The other thing that we had on Thursday was the Principals and Pastors Conference. It's a summit with the principals and pastors. We had about 46 to 50, a little over 50 churches and pastors that were there, with about 30, 40 principals. Altogether, about 130, 140 people that was there really discussing and talking about, and certainly having a message coming from the new superintendent, Dr. Beatty, and to hear what he has to say, what his plans, his goals and ambition is for the Detroit school system, and how can we help? How can churches really help? How can pastors really help? My sisters and brothers, schools are out for the most part at 3 o'clock, but with the church being next door or in the neighborhood, it's very possible then that the school may be out at 3 o'clock, but they can go to the church for tutoring, go to the church for not only for tutoring but mentoring and other kind of programs. And so again, it's a partnership that we're doing between what we call one church, one school. Each church picks a school in the neighborhood and work with that school and try to give some help in terms of mentoring, in terms of mentoring and also tutoring for those young people that's in that particular school, and whatever else the students they may need and other things they may help. So it's a partnership, and I think it's an excellent idea, if I must say so myself. It's an excellent idea, and in terms of really getting involved, as we were, somebody about 5 weeks ago, they told us we were the worst in the country when it comes down to reading, comes down to math skills. And it's not so much just Detroit, it is the whole state of Michigan. But obviously Detroit was always highlighted, and they always bringing the negative down on us. But the point is, my sisters, brother, we know, all of us know, that we could do better. We know that we can do better, and that our children, all of our children can learn. All they need is just the opportunity, and for some of them, they just need a little help. And so I'm just saying to you, it's just a wonderful, about 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes that we were there at the historic Little Rock Baptist Church, Constantine Little Rock Family Life Center, and really have a discussion and a plan of action in terms of really what can we do to help our young people when they come back in September, and hopefully that piece that we're putting together, that it would be in place, and I think it's a good thing. And so once again, there are things that we are trying to do, and what things we are so many in this city is trying to do. And the thing about it is, my sisters and brothers, there's no apathy. We just really know that indeed, if we know what the problem is, and if it's man-made, then it can be fixed by mankind. So I'm just saying to you that those are the kind of things that I'd like to come and report to you and let you know what it is that we're trying to do and how you can be a part of it by just calling the church 872-2900 Monday through Thursday. And so I'm just saying again that those are the kind of things that we've been doing and kind of things that we need to continue to do, that we might be able to really make sure that a year from now that we'll be, for the most part, the ideal school system in the country. Detroit was that, 25 years ago. Detroit was the leading school system before the state got in and messed everything up. It was the leading. People would come all over the country just to come in and see what's going on in Detroit and how teachers are doing it and how administrations are doing it, how people like Dr. Green was doing it and others. I'm just saying to you is that if we had it before, we can do it again. And I'm certain to know that you agree with that, and that indeed that and I know that all we have to do is just put our heads together, put our arms and shoulders together, and we'll be able to certainly make a difference with our young people. We got to do this. This is something that we just got to do, and that is make sure that we're in position to help our young people with tutoring and with mentoring. We just got to do that. We got to do what we got to do in terms of getting in the homes and trying to help see, people don't understand, and certainly these tests that they have on the national level, and these, let me just share this with you, and this is going to blow your mind. it blew mine. Maybe you knew about it altogether. 93% teachers in Michigan are white. 93% of teachers are white. And this is not to be anti anything or anybody. I'm just giving you information. I'm just giving you information. And so if you're talking about if that's the situation, then understand that it could be very well what's going on in urban America and urban Michigan and urban in Detroit, and that there's a culture that basically there could be a breakdown. It could be indeed a cultural difference that's really not really corresponding with teacher to student. I know what many of you may be saying. Well, it doesn't really make any difference. A teacher's a teacher. I'm not quite sure that I agree with that. I feel like that I've had African American doctors and I've had non-African American doctors, and I feel very comfortable when I'm talking to an African American doctor because, again, if I'm to digress and go off the beam and trying to say this or that about my illness or my health, he or she would listen. But when you talk about another culture, my sisters and brothers, you're just another number. You're just another number in my humble opinion. And I'm just saying to you is that I think this is the same way in the classroom, that you got to have somehow some kind of way. When I was in school, I was taught by African American teachers in elementary school, in middle school, and high school. I went to Tennessee State. It was African American teachers. And obviously, when I got to the University of Chicago, that was obviously a different situation. But by then, I'm just saying to you, I've been ingrained, I've been embedded, and I've certainly been grounded, and I was able to cope with life. And so I just say to you that I'm telling you, this report, and this is where I got it from. It comes from the civil rights of Michigan, the Civil Rights Department of Michigan, that basically I had a meeting with the director of the civil rights, the director of the Civil Rights Commission for the state of Michigan, and what they indicated to me, and that is that 93% of all teachers in the state of Michigan are white, and so and that itself you got to take that into consideration. What's going on? We got to take into consideration that the fact is that there may be some other variables. The reason why young people can't make it in school, because they may not be any lights at the house. It may not be any lights in the house. It may be a situation where basically that there's so much distractions that's going on in the house, in the neighborhood, and so forth. I mean, it's a whole lot of variables there that really I don't think that people understand on the national level why we don't really able to compete on these tests and compete in the school system with suburbanites, because the lifestyle is just so different. And I know I'm not saying anything to you that you don't already know, but I'm just talking to you, and I'm just talking about what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about anybody. I'm just talking about what I'm talking about. And I'm just saying to you, my sisters and brothers, is that these are the things that I think that we need to really start thinking about, and how we're going to basically make sure that our school system is top of the top. And that's the thing that we got to work on, and I think we will. This superintendent his heart is in the right place. His whole disposition is in the right place. And somehow, some kind of way, we got to put our arms around him and the board and all the other people that's involved in education and so forth, that we can, and then we all into this thing together if we're going to be able to really make sure that our school system is the top of the line. We all got to get into this thing together, where you just can't have parents walking into a classroom and going at it with a teacher. I saw a video yesterday where a parent basically got a hammer because her daughter and another young lady got fighting on a bus, and so they called the mother, and then one of the mothers followed the bus and then got a hammer and started trying to get in the bus, and so that she could get involved with the fight with her daughter. And I'm just saying to you is that you know and I know, and I'm not here to throw disparaging things of parenthood, but I'm just saying you know what it is. You know what this thing is what it's all about. And we got to stop being in denial and basically understand we got to get fired up and ready to go in order to make sure that all of our children have an opportunity to succeed, whether in the suburban community or whether it's in the urban community. All of our children are to have the right to succeed. This is the other thing I wanted to share with you. You know, for example, the Civil Rights Department had a survey across the nation, and so they basically, if you ask this is a diverse group, so say there's several hundred people that you ask a question or a concept, and then you see what that person would say. And so, for example, if you say something about black people, you come up with these are the words that will come out when you talk about black people: poor, violent, religious, lazy, cheerful, and dangerous. But when you hear the word white, wealthy, progressive, conventional, stubborn, successful, educated. So these are the stereotype concepts or words that they come out that you say, and this is what come out of people's about, not just white, but it's black and white. You know, I asked the director of civil rights. He indicated that when whites want to really look for help, who do they look for? They look for other whites. I said, well, when black people want help, who do they look for? And the word was it was neutral. In other words, it wasn't black, it wasn't white, but it was neutral. And I didn't know what that really means, that they're neutral. But the point is that black people really don't look for black people to help them. That's the end result of that question and the answer to that question. And so I'm just saying to you is this is a survey that was done by the Civil Rights Commission of the state of Michigan. For example, when the suspension in secondary schools. In terms of suspensions in secondary schools, this is how the percentage of students when they are suspended from school. In the white schools, you have about 7% or 7% of whites that are suspended. This is in the state of Michigan now. In the state of Michigan, you're talking about 7% of whites being suspended. You're talking about Latinos, about 12% suspended. But when you come down to blacks, it's 24.3% of blacks are suspended from high school, from the secondary schools. 40, so it's twice as many. And again, I know that for the most part that you maybe feel like that I'm just giving you stuff that you already know, and I'm sure you do. But the point is, my sisters and brothers, is that it is about racism. It is about racism, and sometimes even those who are perhaps think they're not racist, basically they are and don't know that they are until the time comes when you're going to be put to a test. And this is what it came out to be. So again, I'm just giving this to you because it was just interesting. And I'm going to get the director of civil rights, Dr. Abaluwo. I will give him an opportunity, invite him to come here on the program, and where you can ask questions and listen to this whole thing in terms of racism in the state of Michigan, when it comes down to education, when it comes down to the workforce, and comes down to jobs, all of that, and I know you will find it very interesting, and I will do just that. Caller, thank you for your patience. How are you this morning?
Doing pretty good.
Yes.
You know, I was reading Dr. King's last book, and he said it's not enough to register people to vote and to vote. He said just as important is to vote and have your own representative. That's what have happened in the black community. We voted because we didn't know no better. We thought those with education would be the ones to help deliver us, the talented 10 Dr. Du Bois talked about. But in all the cities that marked the Georgia black population at, where they was over hiring polices, well, I look across the city, in those cities, look across the country, and those blacks was over hiring and firing, have replaced white polices in every major city that we have. At the city of North, where Booker came from. So I don't see racism in that context, just white and black. I see racism was carried out by those we elected, and and how they carried it out. They talked about diversity, the black leadership. We got to have diversity. But when we look at the population that I studied, it's not diversity. And Spike Lee was talking about it last week. He was talking about the white woman walking at midnight with a stroller in Harlem, and they had two black suburbians were saying, oh, he's racist. No, what he was talking about moving one people out, like in Detroit, in Cartown, so-called downtown, and moving another people in. And when you study the population, Reverend Holley, I studied 17 cities. What is going on is not just black teachers. The population of blacks are going out. At the same time, they are talking about venture capitalism, like in the North End over there, $5,000, which really is a diversion of what's really going on. We are being pushed out of this city. And I went to cities where this is already done, like in Washington, D.C., on the Beltway, Arlington, Virginia. And in Atlanta, Georgia, they moved most blacks out of Atlanta, Georgia. They're in the enclave. So what I'm seeing, unless the working and masses of black, poor, develop them a party that's Because the people of the civil rights are the very people who carried out so-called diversity, which was actually, they helped carry out ethnic cleansing in Detroit and in Chicago, in urban cities. It was those Obamas that really have destroyed the black community behind the word diversity. One teacher calls into your show, and I read an article he did in the Free Press. He's a former teacher. Downtown is for everybody, he said. And he said, if you got the money, you can go downtown. That is the black intelligentsia's thought about the black community. And they went along with the mayor cutting out public assistance for blacks, yet there was no job that they could guarantee, and they wasn't even trying to guarantee. Brenda Jones and them on city council, they was talking about, we gonna trust them. Nobody trusts nobody in politics. They were selling the masses down the drain. So I don't see, King told us in his last book, we got to watch the black intelligentsia. They always scream racism when they themselves are carrying out cooperative racism, and they're trying to win our laws that they just love black people. But when they look at the programs they carry out, the programs are helping send black people to enclaves. And you look that up. Also, you should look up how many black people are in the suburbs and what are those territories. They don't have no jobs like down in Michigan. They don't have no job. You go out 13-mile road, you're going to see some of little areas with blacks in them. That's all over the country, Rev Holley. That's where every black intelligence from the NAACP have been a total destruction to our being in the city. That means I'm talking about they have really done a job on us. It wasn't the Klansmen. It was them.
All right,
with
thank you.
diversity.
Thank you, my friend. I'll call you in touch. Thank you for your patience. Sorry this morning.
Sure.
Yeah.
Holly, thank you for taking my call. The young man that just spoke, he's an absolute genius. I mean, he really goes in depth. I just wish I could pay for him to be on this radio station, because he really have us thinking. And you know what? His analysis there is absolutely right. This is why most of the people don't come out to vote. Only 21% of the people come out to vote. Is due to our African American leadership in this city. They allowed this city to fall into benign neglect. Do you know that in the suburbs that I was working on 21-mile road in Middleville? Do you know they got vacant homes out there? Do you know in Sterling Heights there are vacant homes? In Troy there's vacant homes. But they don't do their vacant homes like they did here in Detroit. Just allow them to fall into benign neglect. They cut the grass and turn the light on in those vacant houses and things out there. And you're talking about another point I would like to make about we spend $750 billion for bombs. Okay, you don't hear no Democrats come up here and talk about the war chest that we got. You understand me? They don't speak about that. Now they don't like it because Trump is trying to get along with Kim Jong over there in North Korea. You know what? We need to take that war money and bring it back to these cities. Have you took a scope of all the cities of the homelessness in America? Do you know that you can get sick in America and go totally bankrupt? Does that bother you people? I mean, I want Trump and Kim to get along. I don't want World War III. And you hear Democrats are upset with him because he wants to try to get along so that we will not have World War III. They're mismanaging. Those are my tax dollars, your tax dollars. I don't want all the money put into the war chest. to go around the globe and bomb other children's schools. And do you know we bombing schools in the Middle East? Do you know we bombing hospitals, nursing homes in the Middle East? That's your money. Those are your tax dollars going bombing other people instead of trying to seek peace on this earth. Even you ministers will talk about peace. When I was in the streets in the 60s, it was ministers leading the anti-war movement that we need to spend our money for Americans first. You don't hear you ministers talking about it is wrong to go in other countries, poor countries, and bomb other poor people. You don't hear ministers talking like that. Now we was out in the streets doing that.
Okay. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you so much. Caller, thank you for your patience. Hurry this morning.
Hey, good morning, Reverend Holley.
Fine. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, when we talk about the school situation, you're right. It is about racism. And what I encourage everyone, and you, if you haven't seen it, go to YouTube, the Mackinac Conference, and look at the panel that Dr. Vitti sat on, and when he said his analysis of the Detroit public school system, what was the problem, what created the problem, who created the problem. He's in-depth, he's right on point, and the people at Mackinac, they were shocked, Reverend Holley. They had no idea that a white man would come before them saying the things that he said.
Right.
He said that the problems in DPS is because of racism, outsiders who have no educational experience or administrative experience making decisions for Detroit school system.
Right.
Okay? And like he said, this would not happen in any white community, any white school district.
Right.
What happened in Detroit, it would never, ever happen in any white community or school district in this country.
Right.
And see, it goes back to when you were saying before, you used to tell us that, hey, what sense do it make to be the only city or district in America where you got 3 or 4 school systems, the EAA, and this, that, and the other. And so Dr. Vitti, he laid it out. And what I'm afraid of, Reverend Holley, is you got people sitting on that school board that's going, and other organizations, they're right today. They're trying to figure out how to sabotage Dr. Vitti. And I say that, here's the perfect example. Sonia Mays, she sits on the school board, and she was backed by, she's one of the 4 that was backed by Mayor Duggan to be on that school board. And at the Mackinac Conference, she said that what needs to happen is we take a measure of patience, okay? That's the buzzword right there to try and sabotage what Dr. Vitti is doing. See, Dr. Vitti, this man, his whole background is education. Sonia May's background is finance and development. And people have to understand, again, Sonia May was Kevin Orr's right hand in the Detroit bankruptcy. So when you say, or when she say, we have to take a measure of patience because Dr. Vitti worked fast, right, that's the red flag, Reverend Holley. Okay. And I think what's going to happen is they're going to try and sabotage Dr. Vitti the same way they did Dr. McGriff and Dr. Eddie Green.
Gotcha. Thank you so much, Reverend.
Yep.
Thank you for the call. It's right now about 12 minutes to the hour, and I appreciate all the calls. The lines are now open as well. And Chief, I think that I've been watching this here for the last maybe the last 3 or 4 school bill meetings, and I'm planning on being watching the one on Tuesday as well. And I feel like Miss Mays is very much a ally. She's very much supportive of Dr. Beatty. And of course, he knows education, she knows financing, and of course, financiers are always more conservative and less progressive as you would be a visionary like Dr. Beatty. I think they got a good opportunity to work together. I think you're probably right, as always, in terms of whatever administration comes in. There's always going to be somebody that's going to try to take them down, because there's some people just don't want our children to learn. And of course, there always will be somebody, regardless who you put in that position, somebody's going to be there to say that they're the wrong people for that position, based upon the condition of our school system. So I think you're right. I'm not quite sure you're right about Mrs. Mays. I know her history. You're right. And she may have said that in terms of in Mackinac, but I'm just saying this also. I know she's very smart, and I think she's very supportive of Dr. Beatty, and also that she really loves the kids. And that's what's really is good. If the whole thing about it is, as I say to my staff and as I say to my deacons and trustees, it's really about the membership, And if you keep your eye on the membership and what's best for the membership, then it all will be right. If we keep an eye on the children and it's really about what's best for the children and not best for this person, that person, or a company, or contracts and all like that, that is basically it's what's best for the children. And I think that you got a good cross section. When I listen to these meetings, especially in the committee meetings, you got good questions being asked and want more information. They're just not going to roll over. I think all of that's really good. But we can see. Perhaps you may be right in your analysis. But at this particular point, I feel like that we just have a wait and see. But more than anything, I'm just saying to you is somehow, some kind of way, we got to get. We're running out of time. We're running out of time. Listen, the only city I know that had a bunch of mayors, the whole city I know had a bunch of school superintendents and CEOs. We're the only, and I'm just saying to you is that somehow we got to be able to just get grounded and keep our eye on our children and making sure they get the best. And I think you and I know, Chief, that many African Americans say the same thing. But when Dr. Beatty says it, obviously it's looked upon in another kind of way, and perhaps I'm glad he did say it, because maybe because of somebody like them says it about us to them, and maybe they'll listen. Maybe they'll listen. But the thing about it is, if we feel like he feels, then we need to put our arms around him and make sure that we protect him. And always remember, my sisters and brothers, that it's the parents and it's the community that really protects and projects what's going to happen with our school system, and that's what we got to do. And I really appreciate the conversation and appreciate you basically noting what's going on that was going on in Mackinac as well. And then again, like I said, with Tyrone and certainly my sister that followed Tyrone, and of course, again, what we have to understand is that, and maybe I'm just don't know what I'm talking about. It's very possible, but my sister and brother, there is a procedure, a progression that you basically do in life, and in order to be what you consider to be successful, or what you would be where you can be able to live in a country like the United States. And one is that you basically get a good education. get a good education and get at least the average education. But if you can get a excellent education, that's obviously, and then after that you get what it is you want to do in life. Whether you want to be a teacher, a policeman, or in skill trade, truck driver, whatever it is, then you basically knowing that that's what's going to help you to really get you a house and get you to take care of your family. It's got to be training, education, training, and a job, and try to do what you can to get the best out of that job. And if it's not, then you move to another job. It's very likely that if you're 20 years old, by the time you get 70 or 65 or 68, you're going to change jobs at least 5 to 7 times. And then the other concern you got to be about is that how robots are really taking over a lot of the their service jobs. And so I'm just saying to you is that you're certainly not going to win in life by being unemployed. You're just not going to win in life by being unemployed, by being basically a have-not. You're just not. This is not the way this country works. You're not going to be successful doing that, and that's the reason why we got to make sure that our young people understand they got to finish school. They got to finish school. I'm one of the beautiful things I see it. I know I sound like a broken record, but I'm an advocate for, and I'm not going to basically apologize for it, but for Wayne County Community College District, I'm an advocate for it. And you got dual enrollment. It's possible that a student in 11th grade can take classes at Wayne County Community College, and when they graduate from high school, they come out almost ready to graduate from a associate degree or a certificate degree right there at Wayne County Community College. And so you're ready to go at 18 and 19 years old. You know, you're ready to go. I mean, I didn't get started until I was in my late 60s, late 20, when I was 25, 26, 27 years old. I went to school for the first, up until I was about 25. And I'm just saying to you, my sisters and brothers, is that we have to understand that you don't have to go to college, but you got to get some type of skill. Otherwise, you can't buy an apartment or rent an apartment. You can't buy a house. And Tyrone, you will have to leave. You have to leave somewhere. You know, when I look and see, I remember picking up a lady that was homeless, and it was just cold, and I just tried to talk to her. I took her to a place and paid the hotel bill and tried a motel bill and tried to talk to her while I was trying to find a place that they would take her because she was very dirty and everything, and just trying to get into her head and how did you get here and all this kind of stuff. And she started out, I think, coming off the West Coast and making her way to Detroit, and somehow it didn't work out, and she found herself homeless because what she came here to do, it wasn't there to be done, but she didn't have the training to have options, and that's the thing about it. That our young people got to have enough training to have. If this doesn't work, you know, if my church turned me off and said, you know, Reverend, this is it. We're tired of you, and you're out of here. Obviously, it's going to hurt me, and obviously, I'm going to be very upset about it. But I'm in position with 6 degrees, and 2 of them doctorates, earned doctorates, 2 masters, 2 bachelors. I have some options. I have some options. Now, you don't have to have all that to have options. Just have a certificate. You got to have options, because life sometimes is just not. It's not always fair. Life can be unfair. People cannot be depended on. Family cannot be depended on. And so sometimes, my sister, but our young people, this whole idea of entitlement, these things going the way these young people are now thinking and so forth. obviously, I'm just not in that mode of thinking. And maybe when they'll find out, maybe they will do well in spite of what I think. And I hope they do. But I'm just saying to you is that if you don't have a job, you don't have money. If you don't have money, you don't have a place to stay, place to eat. You know? You look at the 70%, with 14% of the state of Michigan, the African Americans, and yet we're like 70% of the jail population, and many of those young men, that for the most part in there, don't have a high school diploma. The judge would tell them, "Did you finish school?" "No, I dropped out." And a lot of it, obviously there could be many reasons why they do. That's the reason why we got to be able to do something about the dropouts. We've got 7,000 dropouts in the city of Detroit, and nobody goes after them because they're really an education liability for the school systems, the charter schools as well as the traditional. And I'm just saying to you, but we ought to care. We ought to care about our children. We ought to care about each other. We ought to care. As churches, we have to, everything that Jesus represented was about being compassionate. Being compassionate. When you see something that of a need, you minister to that. Ministry is not about ministering for yourself. It's really about ministering for somebody else. When I was growing up and when I was trained as a minister, and that is that the shepherd takes care of the sheep. Now the sheep takes care of the shepherd. It's the whole thing is just mind-boggling what goes on, whether it's religious, a politician, or whatever. I'm just saying to you, my sisters and brothers, somehow, some kind of way, we have to understand that nothing is going to change unless we get in the change, and then we get it changed. We don't want the change unless it's for somebody else. We don't want to be changed. But that's what has to happen. I'm very grateful to God that He allowed me to not to be just stuck on stupid, and that I'm able to move on, even though I realize I did it my way, and then these young people got to do it their way, and I got to allow them to do it their way. I'll be right back. Take a short break, and I'll be right back.